there was a retiree who was given some golf clubs by his coworkers, and he decided he'd try the sport. So he went to a local professional and told him, "I know absolutely nothing about this game. Go ahead and teach me." So they went out to the course, and the professional showed him the stance and the swing, and told him, "Just hit the ball all the way to the green field over there." So the novice comes up and tees up the ball, swings and hits the ball all the way down to the fairway to within inches of the hole. And the pro is speechless, and the novice looks at him and says, "Now what?" And the pro is staring at him, dumbfounded, and says, "Well, now you have to go hit the ball into the hole." And the guy says, "Now you tell me." See, one is a professional, they call it expert, and one is a novice or a beginner. They ask you, if I were to ask you now, what would you rather be, an expert or a beginner? What would you choose? You'd be like, I think most people would say expert, but I want to talk today about being a beginner. I think there's a lot of value in being a beginner. The word of the day today is incipient. As a grammarian already told you, it means being in an initial stage, in nascent developing, a beginner at something. And I think that's a very exciting place to be. But when you're put in a new situation, or about to do something new or have a change, do you feel nervous, like most people, or do you feel excited? I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be nervous, right? I think a lot of people see this, they end up in a new situation, and first of all, if you spend a lot of time developing expertise in something, and then you're asked to be in a situation where you have no knowledge, then that's going to be something that you fear, right? People have a lot of fear of being a beginner. Also, let's say you're about to do something new in your life. There's a lot of safety in status quo, doing the things you've always done because you know it's safe. And if you're about to do something new, there feels like some danger in that. There are a lot of reasons why people feel very fearful of being a beginner, because it can be an insecure and challenging place to be. People fear being the new guy. You don't want to be the person who doesn't know anything, to be embarrassed and made fun of. But I'm saying, if you don't feel like being a beginner, if you're afraid of it, don't you think you could be missing out? Like I said before, there's a lot of value in being a beginner. It's a very powerful state to be in, I think. I mean, just think about when you were children and everything was new. You're a beginner at everything. Wasn't it an exciting time? I mean, you have a chance to learn everything. It was Pablo Picasso who said, "I try to do the things that I do not know how to do in order that I may know how to do them." And I think it's a very valuable thing. Being a beginner forces us to have courage and forces us to grow. Just imagine the First Continental Congress. If these fellows never came together to start something new, where would you be today? Being a beginner gives you a chance to not remain stagnant. It means you can't get bored if you do the same thing every day. You're going to say, it's boring, right? So being a beginner can put you in a very exciting place where everything is a pleasure. It gives you the opportunity to enjoy something new, whether it's a new food, new hobby. It gives you an ability to go after a passion that might light your heart on fire. I know the persons in the room who have been married for decades and decades might disagree, but wouldn't you think that being in a new love is one of the most exciting phases of that relationship at the beginning? So I think, like I said, that there are lots of reasons to be a beginner if you're willing to try it. I want to think about just recently when I was at home and realized that my house that I was renting was flooding. You know, carpets destroyed and everything, and the landlord calls up and says, "Okay, I need you guys to move out so I can do my renovations." And I think, oh my God, I like this house, I've lived here forever, and it's so cheap, there's nothing at this price, so you get all furnished and everything. It's a beautiful place, I love where I live. But I'm gonna have to move and deal with buying furniture and all that stuff. But then I moved, and I feel so at peace given the surroundings I am. I am a couple city blocks down the street, so getting here took me like 3 minutes from door to door. It's a beautiful thing. Or I had a nice job at the school district in IT, where I have people I love to work with, beautiful people, and I felt really safe, like working in the government often does, because I build a lot of expertise and a little bit hard to replace. But at the same time, while thinking about how much of a future I have there, given my status as not a U.S. citizen, I ended up answering to an opportunity about another job, and it's gonna be beautiful. I just spent my very first day here in the new job. It was our start day. I went through orientation, sitting at home in my pajamas, which I've done before. And I'm gonna be traveling all the time now, which means that sometimes I won't be available for Toastmasters meetings. But it's a new beginning, and I feel very good, and I'm very excited about that. So there are two things I want to leave with you, two action items that I want you to take from this. The first is to try to begin something new. A new project, new hobby, just something that you've always been thinking about that you felt afraid to do, or maybe a new way to make money that you think could be possible, just take it on. And even if it's an existing thing where you already have expertise, I want to have you look up something called Shoshin, which is a Zen Buddhism term for the beginner's mind. And it's what asks you to have the mind of a beginner for even things that you're good at. Openness, an eagerness, a passion for what you're doing. Well, Steve Jobs had said, when he was fired from Apple back in the day, that it was one of the best things that ever happened to him because it released him from that heaviness, that burden, and allowed him to just enter one of the most creative periods in his life. So, being a beginner is not something to be afraid of. If you can have the courage to do it, it will give you even more courage. And as was said, the best angle to approach something is the triangle. So I want to leave with you one quote from Mr. Shoryu Suzuki. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In an expert's mind, there are few. Mr. Toastmaster.
All right.